Welcome to Talk Oxford, the show that gets Oxfordshire talking. Tonight I'm joined by Sarah Neighbour, a garden designer, and Jeanette Howes, the Business Development Executive for Tourism South East. Thanks for joining me tonight, ladies. But before we start, I have some breaking news for you, if you didn't know. Sepp Blatter has resigned from FIFA after 17 years at the helm. The Swiss FA are now going to hold an independent investigation into the 2018 and 2022 World Cups, and no one knows who his successor is to be yet. So that is the news at the moment. Are either of you ladies interested in football?
No, I used to go and watch football at Tottenham, but don't really follow it. My husband does.
Okay,
Yeah.
And what about you, Sarah?
No, I used to follow Liverpool, but...
And what changed? Why don't you anymore?
I don't know, I just got a bit disillusioned with it, really. Yeah,
okay.
too much diving.
Well, maybe someone will change that now Sepp's gone. But anyway, thank you, Jeanette and Sarah, for coming in. Let's not talk about FIFA and football. Let's talk about you as we start. So, Sarah, you are a garden designer.
Yes.
And you've just won an award at the Chelsea Flower Show.
I have.
And am I right in saying it's the third year in a row that you've won this particular one?
Yes. Yeah.
So how does that feel, and what exactly is the award that you've won?
Well, it feels great, obviously.
Yeah.
The award we've won is a 5-star award for a trade stand for David Harbour, who makes sculptures and water features. It's on Main Avenue every year, so we're up there with all the big show gardens, but we don't get judged in quite the same way as the actual show gardens, so we don't get gold, silver medals. We get a star award, and the 5 stars is the highest you can get.
Wow, fantastic.
So we're kind of judged as a shop as well as a garden.
And so how much work has to go into your work to make it 3 years in a row at the very best?
Well, we start work with David proposing the concept for the design in sort of September. And so if we get invited to do it again this year, we're already thinking about what we might do. And then that gets submitted to the RHS for approval for the design by the end of September. And then we start working on the plants, buying the plants in, growing them on, and so it's a year's work on and off, really, but it all kicks in just around Easter time, getting everything sort of finally sorted, and then 2 weeks of build.
So when does he give you the heads up that he wants you back next year?
Soon, I hope.
Waiting for that call.
Yeah.
So what was the design that won it this year, or got you that?
Okay, this year we did a shady glen. Okay. A woodland sort of glen, because David's sculptures are all about light and reflection, and so we want to sort of play with the idea of sort of dappled light and shadows, which and it worked really, really nicely, because the public have to be able to get onto the stand and walk around quite easily, and obviously Chelsea's absolutely crammed, so we have to design a space where people can get in, walk around and then get out again quite easily, so a flow. And that worked really nicely because we had this sort of central area surrounded by trees and shady planting, which is a little bit different from what other people were doing. So.
Yeah, because I normally associate the flower show just with pretty flowers and things like that, but that sounds like something a bit more atmospheric and a bit...
It was very textural, very green, and then we had sort of little punctuations of colour with bulbs and some perennials, so lots of ferns.
Yeah, good stuff. And Jeanette, you work in the South East Tourism Board, am I correct?
That's right, yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
What made you want to work in tourism?
Well, I've worked in tourism for nearly 30 years now. Started off at Didcot Railway Centre, where I ran all the marketing special events and everything that was going on there. And then I had an opportunity to move to Tourism South East 8 years ago with the experience I had of other members and to be able to support the tourism industry.
Fantastic. So what exactly does your job role involve?
Oh, lots of things. Mainly communicating with the members, and the members are from the largest tourist attractions in Berkshire, Buckinghamshire and Oxfordshire, like Ascot Racecourse and Blenheim Palace, down to somebody who's got a B&B or even might want to open a B&B.
Oh, okay, so a very large variation of things.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And so just going back to you, Sarah, what is the best time to design a garden? Is there a best time?
Probably the best time is September, October time to get your designs ready for planning the planting and the build. A lot of people leave it very, very late, and then it's a bit late if it's in the spring. It's quite late to get a good contractor to build it and to get the plants in the ground in time. So it's very good to do a bit of early planning. You don't always have to build it straight away, but getting the plan in place is always worth doing.
Okay,
Yeah.
when did you start designing gardens? I could imagine like a mini version of you just playing in the garden designing things. How old were you?
I know. I'm not one of those child prodigies at all. Actually, no. I started off in art and design, but not really gardening. And I actually didn't start gardening until I got a garden of my own that was worth spending any time in, which was in 2007. So it's quite late.
Wow, okay. So what made you want to get into garden design? What made the change from art into gardens?
Well, getting a garden and then wanting it to be a space that I was going to... I mean, I've always been an outdoor person. I love the outdoors. And so I really wanted a garden that was going to be nice to spend time in. And I started doing a distance learning course just to design my own garden, and found that I was sort of sitting up till midnight doing lots and lots of research and drawing, and loved it. So it was the obvious thing was to get properly qualified. So I did my horticultural qualification first, and then did a diploma in garden design.
Brilliant.
So,
and
yeah.
do you ever get it where members of the family want to get involved in the garden? You're like, no, hands off. It's very similar to a chef in a kitchen.
No, I would love people to help me in the garden. No, I'm more than happy for people to help in the garden, as long as they do it right.
Oh, okay. Do they help at all? Or do
Yes.
You, yeah?
Yes,
Okay, fantastic. That's all
occasionally.
right then. So everyone's happy in your household. And Jeanette, so just going back to what you do, you mentioned to me off air actually about marketplaces, and some of them are struggling at the moment. What problems are they facing?
Well, I think our shopping habits have changed, and therefore where people used to go out probably every day or every other day and do their shopping and would go around the markets and would browse, now everything's about shopping online. So to try and encourage people to still use our market towns has been quite difficult. Some have been quite successful, and there are some great markets out there, but I'm working with a couple at the moment in Wantage and Farringdon and Didcot that are really trying to improve the service and the value that they give their markets. And I think the quality of markets have changed as well. So what you buy in a market today is not what we would have bought 20 or 30 years ago. So it's really down to customer choice.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Just going back to the high street shop and the internet, I went into an unnamed clothes shop, and I went to buy some shoes. I think it's the ones I'm wearing now, actually, which is really convenient. And I said, oh, can I get these, please? And they said, oh, actually, if you go online, they're cheaper. I was like, okay, but you're killing your own shop there, surely.
Yep.
So there is a real push towards the internet, and it's strange to see.
Yeah, I mean, we were in a shop yesterday as well, likewise, and my husband wanted a particular shirt, and they only had certain sizes and certain shapes, but they actually said straight away, you can buy these online. No, actually, we wanted to buy it there and then. And I think to encourage people to go out, particularly to markets where they're food markets and craft markets, and actually talk to the producers and the people who make them, is far more important than shopping online. You don't know if you've got the right size, you don't know if you've got the right thing that you wanted. Often things go back. I mean, I did a lot of shopping at Christmas online because I wanted to see how it would work. Most of the things that I bought online went back because it wasn't right.
Wow, okay. And are you very similar as well to that, Sarah? You need to be able to touch and feel your products before buying?
Yes, yeah, and I think it's a nice thing to do, isn't it? I mean, it's ridiculous how much time we can just spend sort of getting introverted in our own houses and not going out, you know, and
don't meet people. It's
no, you don't meet people, don't interact.
And talk and exchange views and ideas. You know, where has something, particularly in the food market, where has something come from? You know, it's traceability, it's not got any additives or preservatives or colourings, which is a lot of the farmers market people ethos is it's really important, the traceability of their food.
Absolutely, and I think now we need to push on with our just general questions, but that was really good points, and we'll talk more about yourselves and what you do later in the show. But for now, I think we need to touch on the weather, because I thought I wasn't going to make it today. Being pushed around, I was like, but yeah, there's apparently 50-mile-an-hour winds hitting Oxfordshire. Sarah, for you, how do you handle nature and Mother Nature when you're creating a garden design?
Gosh, well, that's a big question. How many hours have we got? Well, I mean, in the high winds, the most important thing is if you've got new trees or anything like that, is to have them staked into the ground properly, supported, so that they're not going to be pulled out of the ground. Yes, and that will happen with young plants in a high wind. Their root system won't be strong enough to hold them in, so you might have to find that you have to go around and do a bit of replanting after this week. But in general, the most important thing is to choose the right plant for the right place. And that means knowing the soil, knowing the aspect, which way it's facing, what type of soil, whether it's going to be holding a lot of water or not, the nutrients, etc., and choosing the right plant for that place. Apparently there's something like 80% of plants that the general public buy in nurseries die.
Well, is that just because they're bad gardeners?
Because people don't know what they're buying. And they don't, well, I'm not saying in general they don't read the labels, but a lot of people don't read labels. So they buy a plant which is, say, this big, and if you read the label, it'll say it grows to 3 meters, you know, and it's a shrub. It's enormous. So, and that happens a lot, you know.
Okay.
I'm guilty as well, I must say. I've been to nurseries on a Sunday, just, you know, and thought, oh, I have that. And, yeah.
I was going to say, actually, have you had any like nightmare situations where it's the day of the display and you open your curtains and there's absolute chaos in the garden because wind has had its way with your display, if you like? Or have you always had it well maintained?
You mean my actual garden?
Your displays that you helped to design, if there ever been...
the show gardens.
Yeah.
We had a nightmare this year with the rain.
What
yes,
happened?
because one of the problems you have at Chelsea is that so many gardens have been built there over the years that the actual site itself has got a pan about a foot down, which is just a solid. It's just like concrete.
Oh, okay.
It's not concrete, but it's like concrete. And so the water goes down and stays there. So with the heavy rain this year, everyone had just dug all their holes for trees and shrubs and put the trees in. And the rain came and just lifted them out. So we had all this floating. There's lots of floating going on.
You could have just claimed that as part of your display. But yeah, gardening on water.
Oh, then we were making...
And Jeanette, about you actually, because obviously the weather will affect you as well. How does the weather affect your planning of events and things like that in the southeast?
Well, it's more about the weather forecasting for attractions particularly, because if they hear on the weather forecast that it's going to be wet or windy or really cold, that will affect where people go. And quite often the forecasters actually get it wrong because weather is obviously isolated to certain areas. So we could be in Oxfordshire and have wind and rain in one area but sunshine in the other. But because the public listen to what they're informed through the media, they follow that, and that can be a complete disaster for a tourist attraction.
Absolutely. Well, I was told this week that we were going to have 30-degree like absolute sun everywhere, so I came in my flip-flops and they soon got blown away. But anyway, enough about that. So we're going to a break now. So, but please don't forget to get involved while we're on air. You can tweet us at That's Oxford TV, email us on news@that'soxford.com, or find us on Facebook. We look forward to hearing from you.